Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishnah Yama, Parak Ches, Chapter 8, Mishnah Beis, Mishnah 2. Now, we know one of the 5 afflictions of Yom Kippur is not to eat or drink. And it's a Torah prohibition to eat or drink. So how much does a person have to eat and drink in order to be liable? And when I say liable, let me give you a little of just a quick introduction here. While it is forbidden Yom Kippur to eat any amount of food or drink any amount of liquid, one is not liable to karis, which you get for a deliberate violation, which also comes together with lashes, or to bring a chatas offering, a sin offering for a mistaken violation, unless he eats or drinks a certain minimum amount as said on the Mishnah. That means that no matter what, you can't eat a morsel of food on Yom Kippur. You're not allowed to eat a morsel of food. You're not allowed to take a drop of water. But that doesn't mean that if you do so, that would carry any kind of punishment or any kind of ramification. If a person, let's say, forgets his Yom Kippur and he eats, he's got to bring a carbon chatas, a sin offering. If a person deliberately eats on Yom Kippur, he knows it's forbidden and he still eats. And he wasn't allowed to eat. It wasn't a situation where he could eat. That carries a certain kind of a punishment of death by heaven. So how much do you have to eat for that kind of liability of whether for the liability of the punishment for deliberate sinning or for the sin offering for an intentional? So that the Mishnah says like this. If one eats the amount of food that's equal to the volume of a large date. A large date. Now, here in the notes, they say this refers to the fruit of a kind of palm tree that grew in Eretz Yisrael, whose dates were larger than average. They were larger than average dates. Mm-hmm. That's the amount. That's the volume. If you eat a volume of food of that same volume of that large date, that will make you liable. Now, the Mishnah says, Kamoya uchagari nisa, it and its pit. Okay? We're not talking about pitless. Okay? If it's pitless, it has less mass to it. If it has a pit to it, it's the mass of the volume is going to be the mass of the date and the pit. But they actually add something really interesting here, and that is this includes the volume of the date's flesh as well as the pit, but does not include the space that is found in these kinds of dates between the flesh and the pit. A little space there between them. Therefore, in order to arrive at the volume of the large date, one would measure it after squeezing it so that the space is removed. Okay, you squeeze it. Not if they squeeze anything out, just squeeze it a little bit. Take away that space, and that's how you figure out the volume. Okay, so that's when it comes to eating. Then v'hashoiseh, and one who drinks, how much do they have to drink on Yom Kippur to be liable? Maloi lugmav, a cheekful. So just reading the whole Mishnah together, of one who eats the amount of a large date, it and its pit, and one who drinks his cheeks full, chayiv is liable. Now, if you take the words maloi lugmav, literally translated, it means the fill of his cheeks. What do you mean the fill of his cheeks? Sounds like if you have to drink enough that you're being so much and you're holding your mouth that your cheeks would bulge. However, the halacha is it's not about 2 cheeks, it's just about one. It's one cheekful. Now, this one cheekful, right? Maybe some people have a big cheek and some people have a small cheek. How do you measure that? So they bring down here from the Mishnah, the amount is measured according to each individual. It is a larger quantity of liquid for a larger person and less for a smaller person. There is an average amount also. There's an average for the average person. The Bartanura brings down an average person, his cheek full. The wording of the Bartanura is pachas meravias, less than a revius. Revius is a common liquid volume that we talk about about how much to drink in certain situations. Now here, this amount that we're talking about, a cheekful for the average person, he calls it less than a revius. A lot of times we find it described as the majority of a revius. So if a revius is, let's say, 3 fluid ounces, which is according to many opinions, what's the majority of that? A little bit more than 1.5. So that would be your, so to speak, for your average person. Now, what's really interesting about this halacha is just think about the 2 amounts that we just said. To be liable for eating on Yom Kippur, it's the amount of a large date. How much do you have to eat? Let's say if a person, chas v'shalom, eats a not kosher food, and they're warned not to do it, they do it anyway, and for that they receive lashes. How much of it do they have to eat to be liable for that punishment of a non-kosher food? How much?
I forgot. It was
How much? Kazayas.
Half of it.
Kazayas. Kazayas means the volume of an olive. We call that, according to many opinions, the volume of 1.1 fluid ounces, that volume. Okay? Now, it doesn't say by Yom Kippur, if you eat a kazayas on Yom Kippur, you're going to be liable. It doesn't say that. It talks about a kaisevis, a date, which is larger. It's a little bit smaller than an egg, but it's larger than a date. So how come by Yom Kippur we don't follow the typical amount? How much matzah you have to eat on Pesach to fulfill the mitzvah? A kazayas, right? But here, when it comes to eating, we have a larger amount. Why is that? And the Bartuner explains, because does the Torah ever say you may not eat on Yom Kippur? It doesn't say that. It says afflict yourself. And we understand that afflicting includes not to eat or drink. So the only time eating is going to be a prohibition is if you eat enough that you're not afflicted anymore. If you eat a little morsel of food, right, you're still afflicted. You're still going to be very hungry. But there's an amount that kind of gives you a certain level of satisfaction. It kind of calms you down. You're not afflicted anymore. A kazayas isn't enough for that. The volume of an olive isn't enough for that. The sages, they said that to be considered not afflicted, to have a certain level of satisfaction, how much you got to eat? A kazevis, the size of the large date. The same thing for drinking. Typically, when it comes to drinking, how much do you have to drink? You know, we talk about whenever you have to drink a certain amount. Again, let's say you drink something forbidden. Wine that was poured for avodah zarah. You're not allowed to drink it. It's forbidden to drink. Okay? How much do you have to drink to be liable? The answer is a revius. A revius is how much you have to drink. Anytime we talk about drinking, any mitzvah, they have to drink. We talk, even not necessarily Torah obligations, rabbinic obligations, whatever it is. Anytime there's a mitzvah to drink, right? Or how much you have to drink? The answer is drinking is always a revius. Let's call it 3 fluid ounces. Does that say that here? It says a cheekful. Cheekful is less than that. Why? Because again, the whole point on Yom Kippur, why may you not drink? Because you have to afflict yourself. Drinking, you're only going to transgress for drinking if you drank enough that you're not afflicted anymore. The drinking took away that affliction. It satisfied you enough that you're not afflicted anymore. You don't need a revius for that. You don't need 3 fluid ounces for that. For that, you need mother ligma of a cheekful. So that's why Yom Kippur works with its own unique amounts. Now, Mishna concludes. Kol ha'ochlin, all foods, combined to make the volume of a date. We're not eating dates here. The date is the volume, right? We're talking about any food that's the volume of that date. Now, what if I have, so you say, let's say I eat a piece of meat, the volume of the date, okay, I transgressed, right? If I eat an apple, right? If I eat a fruit, the amount of the kaiseves, then I've transgressed. How about half a date of meat and half a date of fruit, and you ate them together? Okay, do they combine to say, okay, here's your date's volume of food? The answer is yes. All foods combined. It has to be the same food. It can be different foods. As long as there is food that's the volume of a kaiseves of the date, you're going to be liable. And all liquids combine for the cheekful, right? Have a cheekful of vodka, have a cheekful of orange juice, they combine. That works, but that works. But But if they have different drinks, they can combine together. That's also good. Not good. That's going to make you liable. But eating and drinking, ein mitzarfen, they don't come together. If I were to eat a half a volume of food and have a half a volume, half the volume of a date of herring, right, and half a cheek full of vodka, right, that doesn't combine together to make you liable, because since it's food and drink, those small amounts don't come together to make you satisfied. You have to have the full amount of each one. But a half a volume of one, half the volume of the other, since again, when it's food and drink, they can't combine together to be considered that now you have satisfied yourself, you're not afflicted anymore to be liable for doing that on Yom Kippur. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.